Hello and welcome to our show. My name is Junara Iman. I'm a clinical nutritionist, and the name of our show is Chronic Ailments and Scientific Nutrition. And on the show we talk about nutritional solutions based on lab analysis. The title of our show today is Cholesterol and Natural Repair. Is cholesterol a villain or is it a hero? Well, I look at it as nature's Band-Aid gone wrong when it is wrong. But when it's right, it's the perfect solution to what we need for a healthy heart, healthy arteries, and good scores on testing for cholesterol. So we have an epidemic solution globally, and we have a little bit of a war going on right now as to what is healthy cholesterol and what isn't, and how do we make it and how do we don't make it. So we're going to talk about that today, but we're going to do it with the idea of natural medicine. The goal of natural medicine is prevention and repair. And using science combined with natural medicines, we can facilitate the body to heal itself. But how do we do that? Well, first of all, we want to know what you look like in your labs. We want to do it with nutrition rather than medication whenever possible, and supplements that come from nutritional bases, whole food nutrition, and natural things. So we fix the cell by restoring cellular function from the inside of the body and at the level of the cell, right down to the DNA. And we can give you exactly what you need specifically by comprehensive lab results, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But our topic for today is cholesterol, and that starts with your cardiovascular system. And the symptoms of cardiovascular stress are simple. We often see cold hands and feet and pins and needles due to cardiovascular circulation. People often think that is a thyroid situation, which it can be, and it is. It is because the two are connected, because the thyroid is connected to the metabolism and therefore the cardiovascular system. So we've got a partnership going on. So other symptoms are leg cramping when walking, burning or tingling in the hands and feet, discoloration in fingers and toes, spider veins, even slurred speech, poor concentration, and slow healing of superficial wounds are signs of cardiovascular stress in the body. And there's a lot of things we can do to diet-wise and supplement-wise to help that. But some heart-to-heart facts, we want to see, here's a picture of the human heart. And as you can see, it's a pump. And blood goes through the heart. And it never stops. It never stops working. The veins are pumping blood out of the heart through the whole entire body, and your arteries are pumping in, and oxygenating your blood happens all here. So as you have this heart-lung connection. And so it's a big, complicated circulatory pump that never can rest, even when you're sleeping. So it carries fluids and gases and solids and immune cells and red blood cells and all the nutrients to the body, kind of like a human highway does. And when it goes wrong, we have something that looks like this. This is a cutout section of an artery. And this is atherosclerosis, which we've all heard about, and it's what we don't want. It's a disease of the artery in which fatty material and plaque are deposited on the wall of the artery, and that results in the narrowing of the arterial lumen, a lumen which is an opening, and eventually the impairment of the blood flow. So the whole idea of cholesterol is to prevent that from happening. And healthy cholesterol levels on the HDL level is important. Otherwise, we have a lot of cellular inflammation, which is the actually bottom line of all disease. And 80% of all disease is cellular inflammation. And one of the tests we can do in our office is something called a medioxy test. And that tests for urinary malonaldehyde, which is a byproduct of cellular lipid peroxidation. Now, that gives us an indication of free radical damage, and all that goes back to that plaque and that plugging of the arteries that we're going to talk about that causes disease, heart disease. And this little test is very quick. It's a very quick little test we can do in our office. And it gives us a good indication. But why does our body make cholesterol in the first place? Why do we need it? Why do we want it? The big talk around town all the time is, don't eat cholesterol, because if you don't eat it, you won't make too much of it. Well, is that true or is that not true? Cholesterol is manufactured by the body in the liver from lipids. Okay, those are your fats that you eat, but they are vital to the integrity of every tissue in your body. So your nerves, your cells, and the outer layer of them is all made up of these lipid fat cells. And it's so important that your liver routinely makes cholesterol, makes 300 to 500 milligrams per day. And that's from the intake of food. So if you're not feeding your body with the right kind of food, you're not making the right kind of cholesterol. 60 to 70% of all blood cholesterol is from the liver production, not from foods. But then again, we have it from foods, okay? So what are they and why does that happen? Okay, here back we have our little French fries and our desserts that we love to eat. Those fatty foods and those sweet foods combine together with the wrong kind of fats and the wrong kind of sugar, and we have a recipe for that negative score of too much LDL cholesterol, which creates that plaque because of the inflammation. It breaks down the tissues, and then the body has to repair it. Then there's too much of a buildup of plaque, and therefore we have a problem. So we have bad fats or poor fats plus sugar equals the cholesterol on the levels we don't want. But okay, we do need some fats and sugars, but we need the right kind. So what your body wants to do is get its sugars from, the natural sugars from fruit, vegetables, and the natural fats, avocados and coconut. And yes, coconut is a saturated fat, and it's very important to have some saturated fat in your diet. So now we have the controversy. This is where the controversy all begins. But we need to make cholesterol because it builds and maintains cell membranes. It's essential for determining which molecules can even pass into the cell membrane and the cell wall. And so it's a little smart molecule too. And it's involved in the production of sex hormones, androgens and estrogens. And we all need those. We need those to be healthy. We need them to be healthy into old age. Essential for the production of adrenal hormones. This is really healthy on the stress level. And when you're looking at it from that point of view, all of a sudden you realize the connection between stress and cholesterol and that whole issue. Because we were talking about foods, and we were talking about how cholesterol is made from the liver, made from healthy fats, and we also need to realize that the negative cholesterol scores can be related to how much stress we have in our life, which affects how we digest our food and our food cravings on top of it. So a few more cholesterol facts is it aids in the production of bile, converts sunshine to vitamin D. That's really important. Important for the metabolism of fat solubles, the vitamins A, D, and E, and K. And it insulates nerve fibers. And there we have the relationship between stress and the cardiovascular system and the arteries and the making of cholesterol again. And so we're relating a lot of this to diet. In fact, almost all cholesterol issues can be corrected with the diet if we're eating the correct diet and we're not getting misinformation. So the making of cholesterol is important, and it's carried in the blood by 3 different types of molecules, which is the low-density lipoprotein, which we were talking about, the LDL, which everybody's score, can be affected by. When we're looking at high cholesterol, often it's because there's more low-density lipoprotein than there is high-density lipoprotein, and that raises the score of the total score of the cholesterol. And this is nature's Band-Aid. So we want more HDL than LDL. And if the score on cholesterol is high, but you're high in high-density lipoprotein, you're probably pretty darn healthy. And then the other thing that helps make cholesterol is triglycerides. So LDL carries cholesterol from the liver to all the cells in the body. And that's when too much of this can increase the arterial disease. And most human blood contains about 70% of LDL, and the preventer is HDL, where this takes cholesterol away from the cells and back to the liver, where it can be broken down or expelled from the body as waste. And triglycerides are the chemical forms in which most fat in the body exists, and in food. So we have three really essential things going on here. And triglycerides in our food are made by the body from energy sources. So why is it that we're afraid to eat fat? Why are we told consistently that fat will contribute to cholesterol, and if you eat fat, you'll be fat, and if you eat fat, you'll be unhealthy? When the American diet became low in saturated fat, we can correlate clinically the scores of LDL cholesterol issues and cardiovascular disease directly to when we started becoming fat phobic as a country. There's been a lot of studies done on the Maasai tribe, and they are a tribe in Africa where they eat mostly a high-fat diet of meat, milk, and blood, and they typically have a perfect score of 150 on their cholesterol level. The reason why they are so studied is because, science wants to know why these people can eat like this and have perfect cholesterol scores, and we in America, who don't eat fat and we're afraid of fat, are really, really seriously in danger of having a constant cholesterol level that's way too high. And it creates an inflammatory condition in the body that creates disease, heart disease. So why can they eat this and have perfect cholesterol scores? Well, they just don't eat sugar. That's the key. There is no real sugar in their diet. And so when we're looking at these kind of tests, we realize that there's got to be a connection to inflammation. And when inflammation happens, it's usually because nutrients can't get in and out of the cell in the way they need to. And therefore, things aren't being processed on a cellular level the way they need to be. And here's a picture of the cellular membrane. So nutrients can't get in to this cell membrane, and toxins can't get out. And in the middle here of this little membrane is a double lipid layer. This is fats. So every cell in your body has this going on, and these are protein channels, okay, and little channels where things can go in and out of the body. When this doesn't get the right kind of fat, this red part on each side is a polar layer where this likes water and this doesn't. So it allows things to go in and out of the cell, but when you're not getting the fat, this becomes brittle. It becomes very, very brittle, and what happens is we have inflammation because you can't get the right kind of nutrition, and you're craving sugar, and you're eating the wrong kind of foods at that point, because all of the nutrition goes into the cell by the form of insulin. And if you're not making insulin from your food, from the right kind of food, and your blood sugar's low, or you're not eating correctly, and you're not feeding these cellular membranes the right kind of foods, they get brittle and they dry up. So when that happens, the receptors can't talk to each other, and then they affect your hormones. And then you feel the real fatigue happening. So that is a real key to aging. And so inside of all of those cells, here's a picture of a cell, and inside of there are these little guys right here, and here's a blow-up of it. And this is the mitochondria of the cell, and it also has one of those layers around it, those lipid layers. So you know that everything that has to get into the cell has to get into the mitochondria to make energy for you. And so that's why that's so important. And that makes ATP, which is your sort of like your energy charge. And without ATP, you're grabbing the sugar and the coffee again. And because you're trying so hard to make enough insulin to pile up to make a battering ram to get into the cell. So then all of a sudden, we have a problem. But as you can see here, all foods end up as sugar. Proteins, carbohydrates, and fats all go through a metabolic process. And when they come down, you can see that fats, the fatty acid glycerols, eventually go down into the Krebs cycle or the citric acid cycle because they follow the same form of digestion as proteins and carbohydrates. The only thing is that they do it a little more slowly. That in turn will also balance your blood sugar, and you will get this ATP production, which is that energy of the cell that we were just talking about from the healthy fats as well as the membrane repair. And you must also know that every cell in your body is got a membrane that's made of a lipid layer, and your brain and your organs are made of fat, and they use sugar. So when we spoon feed into our body sugar and carbohydrates, without the lipid balance in there, we begin to have trouble. So what can go wrong? Inflammation, for one. We were just talking about that. So if dietary fats don't increase bad cholesterol, we need to know what does. Well, we were just talking about it. It's the bad fats. The fats, too much unsaturated fat also creates this problem. Your lipid layer starts to make itself out of these things, and you don't get the quality of the cellular membrane and the cell structures and your organ structures when you're only eating unsaturated fats or polyunsaturated fats. So, we have a lot of grains, people who eat too many grains but don't eat fat. We have the sugarholics, and we have toxins in the form of just everyday items, plastics and even in our foods, the air we breathe. So all this contributes to inflammation. And that on that cellular level, it goes into that kind of toxic cell cycle. So which is better then? There's a lot of confusion now. What do we really want to eat? Well, what we really want to eat is anything made by nature, because we have this little guy here, the perfect package of protein. This egg yolk contains B12, and it contains enough lecithin, 80 times the amount of lecithin as the amount of cholesterol in there. And lecithin is the body's natural emulsifier. Inside of lecithin is also inositol and choline. Those are brain foods on top of it, and your brain loves that and needs it, and you need it to think and perform and have a good memory. And so we have a perfect little package here that's roughly about 90 calories. And if you don't put that with sugar, you don't, dump it into a lot of flour and sugar and eat it in the form of cookies or hydrogenated vegetable oils, you will have a very, very healthy body. But instead, what we do is we avoid this perfect little package, this egg, and instead we eat the muffin because we think we're doing ourselves a favor, especially if it's a bran muffin. So on the other side of the fence, we do have the polyunsaturated oils. And what happens to those is they become rancid as soon as they oxidize. And we all cook with them. So rancid fats are part of those negative fats that we don't want to eat that creates LDL cholesterol, especially when combined with sugar. So, I'm just asking you to think about that and make some small little changes in your life regarding how you look at fats, because in the long run, you're going to have better cholesterol scores. And the reason that we really, really know this, and we're looking at this now, is a lot of people that I see in my office, a lot of patients come in and they believe they're really doing the right thing. They're getting advice, they're eating no saturated fats, they're eating a low cholesterol diet, they're eating a high carbohydrate, even whole grain, high carbohydrate diet. They're eating lots of fruits and vegetables, but they're eating maybe 3% fat in their entire diet. And they're saying, why is my LDL cholesterol getting higher and higher and higher? Why is my glucose levels going up, up, up? And when you're looking at A1C liver scores, like you're looking at the amount of sugar in your liver, and remember that we were talking about the liver as the organ that produces cholesterol. It's also the organ that deals with sugar. So now you're looking at a combination of things. And what we keep forgetting to do is look at the sugar levels. But the whole point of this is we can tell this by your labs. Maybe your no-fat diet is okay for you because you had an issue and it was okay for a while, and now maybe it's not okay. Or maybe your low-fat diet is being maintained by medications. That might be the reason why you're okay for now, but all of a sudden, as those years go by, the medications aren't working as well, and you're wondering, why is my score for LDL going up, and why am I having a cholesterol issue, and why am I headed towards cardiovascular disease? Well, one of the ways we can figure all of that out is through the way we do comprehensive lab testing. So in our offices, we do preventive lab testing based on healthy people's scores, and what I want you to look at here is our scores are based on healthy lab ranges, and that means that they're the averages of healthy people, rather than functional lows and highs, which are what most scores, blood scores are based on, because sick people go in, they get their blood tested, and then those normal ranges and abnormal ranges are based on the averages of them in total, rather than on the scores of what healthy people's lab scores would look like. So when we're looking at this, we can do preventive nutritional medicine. And we never get to those abnormal highs and abnormal lows of anything that creates disease. So that's an important thing. And here's what some of the lab work looks like. This is the first test, and this is the second test side by side in comparison. And this person came in, we gave them a 52 lab panel, a complete test of their entire biomedical system so we could tell what was going on. And this person's scores had some yellow, which is cautionary, some red, which is serious in our testing scores. And these little blue guys here are we call them code blue. We have to deal with them right away. And the way we do it through the computerized lab analysis is through nutrition. So then nutritional supplements and diet is prescribed, and it's analyzed by the computer as well, so that we can make no mistakes and you get an individualized result. And 6 months later, this is what this person's scores look like side by side. Most of the or many of the yellow and the red turn to white. White is optimal. That's perfect. That's perfect in healthy people's ranges of scores. And so this, we feel, is very important, and you may not get this much of a comprehensive test from your regular physician or practitioner, because most of it is based on what they're allowed to prescribe to you for our diagnostic codes. This is done in a holistic way and in a preventative way, and we don't worry about that. We go through the whole thing, and we combine that with a urinalysis so we can see what the body's casting off, and a hair analysis so we can see what kind of toxins are in here. On this upper division, we see lines coming out of the green area going into the yellow area, and these are toxins in the body that are preventing those cells from talking to each other and creating inflammation. And some of those things are very disruptive to hormones and in turn the cardiovascular system. And down here we can see all the minerals that we're missing, and here you notice that the green area is in the center. So over here we have great deficiency, and over here we have too much excess, and you can see or the other way around, sorry. So if you could see closer on this, which you can't, you would see that this person is very, very low in calcium and magnesium, and also in selenium, and they're headed towards osteoporosis, and they're aging pretty fast. So that affects their thyroid metabolism as well. So the beauty of these kind of test scores, based on the combination of the urinalysis and the 52 blood and the hair analysis, all together as a unit, we get a complete biomedical picture of you. And so the results that we give you and the supplements that we have you do and the diet that we have you eat is all based on what your blood scores and combined with your hair and urine tell us. And this is how we can truly heal your body. This is how we get results. So now we're using nutrition as medicine. We're using foods, we're using the right kind of fats, and we're using the right kind of herbs and supplements to bring you healing from the most natural way and the way that your body can recognize it. And your cholesterol scores will change. They will go down if you follow the prescription, because we have the lab tests to prove it, and we just showed you how we did it. So we start cardiovascular healing by using professional products. We do it with lab testing, and this kind of lab testing shows us which products specifically that you will need. It's not a guessing game. We're not going to the health food store online and say, oh, this product is good for that. Yes, great. We want you to have CoQ10, but how much of it do you need? Do you know that? How can you analyze this without having your blood tested or having comprehensive testing so that we can see what's actually going on with you? It's all a guessing game unless we can put it together in a package. And so this is the beauty of modern nutrition. We get the whole entire package, and we get it in a way where we can get a picture that's prescribed just for you. So your individual comprehensive lab testing tells us where to start. It tells us which natural supplements to use, and the resulting recommendations and protocols are customized to you based on your actual lab scores. This is great nutrition. This is real science, and we really like to do that because then we know exactly what to give the body to actually create healing, to help the body heal itself. Now, we can do that with a lot of information and knowledge nutritionally anyway, but we get faster results and more positive results when we have the tools all, in place, so we can see where to start, where to go, how to prioritize, and how to give you exactly specifically what your body needs rather than somebody else's. So it's no guessing game. So my name is Janar Iman. I practice in San Rafael. This show airs on Saturdays at 2:30, and my phone number is 415-496-5205. And vitalnaturalhealthsolutions.com is my website, and I'd like to give special thanks to the crew of CMCM. Without them, we couldn't bring you information on nutrition and health and do these shows. And so they have our gratitude and our cooperation. Thank you so much. May you be in good health.